All right. What's up, everybody? Coach David here.
Good morning, Professor Muhammad.
All right.
Morning, everybody.
We have a lot going on here. I'm confused now by what we're looking at. Like, I need almost like a back camera to see. We have several screens, and we're trying out a different podcast setup. I think we're good though. I think we got okay.
Yeah,
we're
a
live.
lot going on.
We're live here. This is not. Hang on. This is problematic. What's going on here? Going live here. What's up? User cannot create a live video. Oh, the commies at Facebook won't let me go live. So you know what? I'm gonna end this right. I'm actually gonna because we're only live on YouTube right now. So I'm gonna end this.
Well,
I'm gonna end. Well, I mean, we got one. I can keep this one going.
that's YouTube.
We're live on YouTube. This is YouTube right here.
And this.
We got one more soul watching. That's just a recording.
YouTube recording.
Yeah, so that's just a recording. I wonder if I'm gonna kill this one, and I'm gonna use this phone to go on Facebook. All right. So if you're the one soul watching us on YouTube, what we're talking about today, put your name in the chat. I'm just curious who our ride or die is, so that we can see all these comments. Comment on the video for us. Facebook labeled me a dangerous individual, and I can't go live till December 7th.
Mr. Mark, good morning, Habibi. What's going on?
Oh, you're allowed to go live.
Yeah.
Apparently, you're not as dangerous as I am, according to.
Yeah, you
Facebook.
made a comment.
They don't like what I can't start a live broadcast. That's crazy. I don't like that at all. Can I see your phone? You have a business manager on here?
Yep.
All right, let me see what's going on here.
Yeah, guys, today's
freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, today's topic is part about the rat race.
Yeah. And this is the rat race. This is us in the rat race right now.
Yeah, we are in the rat race.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Getting caught up in the rat race.
Podcast.
Work.
It's not going great here. This is a bad start coming back off here. I forgot we were
like how long is
I wonder, can I do it sideways here? Well, This is weird. So it'll let you go sideways from your what is this case you got here, dude? Like this thing won't even I believe it's a good case. Can I pop your phone out of here?
Yeah, that's like the best case.
I believe it's a good case.
I'm so proud of
in terms of like being put in a holster. Look at this case. Look at what we got. Like look at your cards and everything.
Well, only 2 credit cards and my license and my gun license. I mean,
your gun license, your CPL.
CPL.
You're gonna need that bad boy. Okay, so let's go live. Let's go live here. Let's have some fun with this. All right, I have no idea. Let's see what's going on. I think we got it. Is everything still working? If everything is still working, I mean, I'm kind of impressed with us for several different reasons. All right, Facebook, we're here. Get your comments up here. I like this.
Good.
That's good. Who would have thought? I guess I would have thought. I would have known. Yeah, Fox. I'm not Facebook jail yet. I'm in like the holding tank of Facebook. They threatened me and said that I'll be in Facebook jail soon.
You're in detention?
I'm in detention. What is going on here? Hang on, y'all. Hang on. Bear with us. We got it. All right. I like this better. I didn't even think about my restrictions. They said personally I couldn't go live. I didn't realize. Maybe we should do TikTok live. TikTok live would be dope. I feel like we would. I don't know how we do on TikTok. All right, Muhammad's Metro YouTube. We're good.
Yeah, we're on multiple platforms.
We're good.
Yeah, this is like.
Oh my gosh, that took a minute.
This is like the movies. You
Holy
don't see what's going on the back end.
It's nuts right here. It's going on. We got all right.
Got a camera.
So lighting. We got lighting. Okay. All right. We're talking about the rat race today.
Yes. Yeah. We were having dinner last night and catching up and just talking about the community, jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah.
And like what are people seeing? What are they feeling? And obviously all of our messages always go back to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And so like how does jiu-jitsu affect it? How does jiu-jitsu solve it? And there's definitely a place for it. And we came up with just getting caught up in the rat race.
Yeah. Well, we were talking. We talk a lot about, like, you have to be able to deal with like yo-yos when you're talking with people. I try to work really hard to stay on topic, but my mind is naturally tangential. Like it goes, like I just go off on tangents, right?
Yeah.
So we were talking about jiu-jitsu, of course, and then we were talking about we were talking about how things we've been working on for some of them for a year, some of them for 6 months, could all be coming to fruition this week.
Yeah.
And like, that's how that works. Right. And I'm excited. Like, I don't want to spill anything just yet, but I'm excited if that actually comes through. But then we were talking about the economy and the recession and like what what are people thinking and feeling? And then that led into the housing market. And then this was all within about a 120-second span. And then we talked about the housing market.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the current events, certain conflicts overseas. And then we talked about just the Western society and hustle culture. Yeah. This was probably 3 or 4 minutes in. And so like, we're like, okay, well, we got our podcast in the morning. What's our topic going to be? And we got so entrenched into this, into this convo, and we're like, well, let's just talk about that. Let's talk about, so I think to rewind the clock, you asked me if I remembered 2008. Yeah.
Like I asked in 2008, there was like a very, very, they called it the financial crisis, the collapse of the housing market
Crisis,
and, banks were not giving any money. Right now, they're giving money, but the interest rate is like,
7.5, 7.
Yeah. So your mortgage essentially is going to double. It would be double today than it would be just a few years ago.
It wouldn't be quite double, because it wouldn't be double. I mean, the interest rate's double, but your payment wouldn't be double because there's like, taxes and insurance and things in there. But a Big Short is a movie I would recommend, because there's a lot of millennials like myself in 2008. We were 18, right? 18, 16, 20 maybe. And we weren't buying homes, right?
Yeah.
We weren't buying homes, but we heard about it. Same thing. You're like, do you remember? I remember hearing about it, but 2008 was a different time for me because I was in the jewelry industry at the time. So while the housing market was, going down, people were selling their gold.
Yeah.
And South Park, I think, even made like a We Buy Gold episode of like these pawn shops they were crooks. They would pay 10, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar, sell it to us for 95 cents on the dollar. They would make ridiculous amounts, and then we would make a fraction.
So for the so you were 18 at the time.
Yeah, at the housing market. Yeah, in 08. Yeah.
So like what I know at teenagers, early 20s, mid to late 20s, everybody's at different stages of their life. Yeah. Like what were you what do you think the consensus was with teenagers when that stuff was going on? Like, obviously parents you're a parent now, you have children, and there's a lot more skin in the game. There's more to worry about for you. But for kids who are like under the 20s, what do you think they're thinking?
In 08 or right now?
We'll say 08, but that might apply now.
08 was situational, I think. I think it was because you did have with their adjustable mortgage rates, right? So like what they had, several things happened, but what they had was, like, let's say imagine you're paying 3% on a note, right? And your payment for a home is, I don't know, $1,100. And then after so many years, that 3% went up to 8 or 9 or 10. So now your $1,000 a month payment is now $1,900 a month. Like that. I mean, if you're more like that would cramp me if my mortgage went up 90%, just overnight. And a lot of people didn't realize what they were buying. And so if for those who got into those, they lost their home, right? They lost their home. And so if you were an 18-year-old and your parents lost your home, I think it would be generally, I think most 18-year-olds are oblivious. And it's of no fault of their doing. Like it's just the far majority of them are just not up to date on current events, especially something like the housing market, which how does that apply to me? Unless you're a real estate agent or like in construction or, whatever, unless you're like one of the few, the 1%ers, single percenters.
And it might be fair to say that kids who again are like in their teens and early 20s, like they don't they almost live day to day. You know, they're
Yeah.
still trying to get themselves established. You know, they might be in school and they might be in that first phase of trying to like say, okay, set up a career or like a full-time job.
Sure.
So they might be a little bit disconnected.
Yeah. So regarding their and you guys go, I'm curious, post what you guys were doing in 08, 09, because we're gonna bring it to today. Comment what you were doing, where you were at. But then you have families. I mean, you're always gonna have those families that they were unaffected. You know, maybe their house was paid for in cash. Maybe because here's the thing. Here's what I've seen, right? We talk about like in the 20s, the roaring 20s is great. The 30s was the Depression, right?
Yeah.
People made money hand over fist during the Depression. Ryan Mackwith was starting kindergarten in 08. Why weren't you buying a house, dude? Come on. What were you thinking? Houses were cheap back then. So people made money hand over fist. You just find that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I think there's where it's like a yin and yang, right? Like there are things that are times are really tough. Like if you're a real estate agent right now, like you better be on your grind, yo. Like you better be on your grind. If you're in construction, it's a pretty good spot to be right now. If you have any type of like business mind or hustle, you know, it's a good gig to be in. So I think, you know, in 08 was a similar situation. People who are okay were okay. People who saw opportunities like the jewelry industry. I mean, there were people. I do know for sure is there were people who would have lost their home, but they hosted what was called gold parties, right? You familiar with that phase, that craze?
Yeah,
I'm familiar with.
I've never been to one, but
it's a chick thing, right?
Yeah.
You go, you have some wine, you sip some wine, you have food. You're familiar with like Pampered Chef or Avon parties or
yes,
like it's the same thing. It's like a late girls' night out. You bring all your gold, your family, or whatever, and then there's like some Joe Schmo in the back who's like he's dressed just like you because he's got to look the part. He has to build rapport. And then he's in the back. The ladies are having social hour. All right, next come in. Oh, okay, cool. He's weighing it, testing it, whatever. Awesome. And so you've got $1,000 worth of gold here. Ding, ding. Oh, great. So now we're as opposed to a Pampered Chef party where like your wife comes home and she's like, hey, I spent $300 on like Tupperware. You're like, what? She's like, hey, or she may not come home and say, hey, I made $1,000. That's cool, right? Is it good? Good gig?
Yeah.
Well, what if there was $9,000 worth of gold there? Which there routinely was.
Wow.
And so it was the public was just massively uneducated. You know, how would you know? How do you know, right? Like, I mean, how do you know the price of gold? You know, so and if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
So
well, we like part of our culture, Arab and Middle Eastern people. Some of us, we for weddings we give gold.
Yeah,
and the parents give gold.
That's cool. Yeah, and high carat gold too. You guys don't give like the low grade 10 carat. Like you're like 18 carat or usually 18 karat or up, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. And that gold is meant as a basically, it's like it's part of a nest egg that your parents give you. Yeah. So instead of giving you like cash or whatever, they will give you gold. They'll put it on, and that is meant to like, you know, if something ever happened, like in 2008.
Yeah.
And you know, like you absolutely need something to survive. You know, that's what it's meant for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember those parties because there's a few entrepreneurs that I knew, friends of mine, that were actually doing that.
A lot of money.
I'm like, what are you doing? Like buying and selling gold, and they must have known at the time that this is the time to kind of like buy and flip it. But like you said the other day, like today the margins are very slim on gold.
Yeah, I mean, people got hip, right? In fact, I think even regulation they started regulating stuff because like there was, yeah. I mean, it was a racket. The whole, and that's there's a movie I can't ethically recommend because of the language and you know, but Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. Like I can't even watch the movie without pausing it probably every 5 minutes because that's how my experience. That's how a lot of that industry is. It's just super stressful.
You're
robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like
you're not talking about Blood Diamonds.
No, that's was it Leo DiCaprio?
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, I've never seen that one. That Uncut Gems is like a jeweler, a Jewish jeweler, or jeweler's broker, I should say, in Manhattan. And he's just like
I saw that movie.
Running around 47th Street. Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah,
movie. That was good.
Yeah, it was. But that's not far from the truth, honestly. Yeah. Like that's like how a lot of them they're just hustling from going from Greenfield Plaza to whatever, hustling all around the city, and they'll put 300 miles on their car in a day, just hustling around, trying to make a margin. So
we were like, so this subject came out of yesterday of working and the rat race and what's going on, Chad. Hey, Mark. And, I was talking to my wife, and she's like, well, why don't you just take off today or, sleep in this day? And I snapped.
They're always trying to get you to sleep in.
Yeah.
Take a load off.
And it comes from a good place because it comes from a good place, but I snapped and I said, look, I said the identity in a DNA of a man is he wakes up and he has to go. And if he could, he would work from morning till night and then go home, go to sleep, wake up and do the exact same thing again.
Yeah.
Like that's how a man is cut. Now, yeah, some men don't have full-time jobs or whatever, but I believe it is in our DNA that we work and we're built and we're built physically and emotionally to work morning till night. And when we don't, we feel guilty. Even when men get like a little bit older, if you're not working and being productive or providing whatever you want to call it, we get older. And that, kind of led into saying like, how much work is too much work? And where is the balance? Because if you work for if you work for 10, 20, 30 years and you find yourself still working, like you lose track of what you're working for and when and where to say, okay, I need to work, but I also need to be more present for what I'm working for, which is your family, which is your community. And we get caught up in the materialistic things that we go to work for. And that is such a virus. It's so I think it's consumed us that all we want to do is work. And there's a bigger house, there's more siding, there's vinyl siding, there's brick siding, there's good roofs, there's metal roofs. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's driveway, there's paved driveway, there's freaking heated driveway.
Yeah, those are dope. Those are dope.
So working, it is never ending. So so this whole podcast came about because we're in the rat race. Like, how and where do you find balance? This is a question for me, for you, and all of us. How and where do you find balance to say, okay, yes, I got to work, but like if you get caught up and consumed, you end yourself. It's like being in the middle of an ocean. There's no way out.
Yeah, I think so. I think I actually. On this topic, I got invited to career day at Canton Prep High School, and I know a couple of teachers over there, and they, ironically, they invited. I told them, I was like, you want me to come talk to your college prep high school? I was like, you may not like what I have to say about college, and they're like, no, you're fine, and I'm reminded a lot of the story of the Mexican fisherman, right? And I know we talked about it briefly last night. I call it the Jimmy John story because it's posted on most every, I think, Jimmy John's. Like Big B is greater than Starbucks, Alan says. Yeah. So the Mexican fisherman story is effectively like you've got like a Mexican, an exec. He's on vacation in Mexico and he sees a fisherman calling it a day at like noon. He caught his daily quota enough to feed his family, and then he's gonna go into the wine, and open a cold one and play guitar with his amigos around the campfire. And the exec was saying, well, you need to go out and catch more. And then what? Then you have a fleet, and then more, and then you have an enterprise, and then what? And then what? And then what? And then he's like, and then you can sell it, sell the business. He's like, cool. And then what? And then he's like, oh, and then you'll have enough to just retire to a small village, catch a few fish in the morning and then go home and play guitar with the amigos. And it was just it was the perspective. When we talk about perspective, we've talking about it a lot. I think if the end goal, and I can only speak for myself, right? This conversation I have with myself daily. It's to what end are you working? To what end? I mean, if it's to your self fulfillment and your self amusement and to self to serve yourself, then that is going to be a largely empty. I mean, King Solomon says he refers to it as vanity, right? King Solomon made Elon Musk look like a pauper. He just had metric tons of gold and silver and rubies and gems and gold and like the richest man that would ever live. And he's like, this is just vanity. This is worthless. It's vanity, right? And so I think if you're now, but if you go to kind of impact other people, for me to impact, and that impact can be, of course, through jiu-jitsu. That impact could be through just the conversations you have with them. One thing I work really hard. I can't have conversations with everyone I know every day. There's just not enough minutes in the day. But the people that I do speak to, I can choose to give them, full presence and direct attention and how, kind of having that impact a little bit. You can call it legacy. You can call it something like that. But that's how, I think that adds a little bit of perspective to it. So it's not all about the dollar. It's how you impact others. And then what you're doing for it too. I think if the end goal is to build a bigger house and get a nicer car, that stuff's always changing, and it's intentionally always changing. I mean, like there was a time you want to talk about 08, 09. That was during the muscle car race, the new muscle car race, when they had the Mustang and the Challenger and what was the Charger, and there was the Camaro, and every year a new model they added 50 horsepower. So from the 05 model to the 010 model is almost a 250 horsepower spread. And the 05 model GT would dust a 67 Shelby, dust it, leave it in the dust. And so it's always, there's this bigger and better because technology is increasing. And that's where I think really a recalibration of true value. You need true values, right? And if it's to serve yourself, then that's pretty empty.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a great example because every year they add 50 horsepower.
Yeah.
Every year, let's just say
they've toned it back now because you can't have a 1,500 horsepower Camaro, just wouldn't be street legal. But yeah, they've toned it back.
Yeah. So adding 50 horsepower is an example of you want to upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah.
The phone, the car, upgrade. And, we're chasing that upgrade. And, if the goal is to be, to give more to your family or community or friends, what I think a major problem is we're waiting. We're not giving the value to our family and friends right now. We have to have more money, a bigger house, and create more time before we have to give to them. And I think we're not going to turn this into a religious podcast, but ultimately, we are here. We were here hundreds, millions of years ago, or when religion started, to worship God. And worship God means being present for God and the people around you and serving the people around you. And I think chasing this the money and the extra 50 horsepower, a little bit nicer house, is taking us away from being present in the moment. In the moment for our family. There's a guy called Joe Dispenza. You ever heard of him?
The name sounds familiar, but who I'm thinking of is a real estate dude. So who's your guy?
So Joe Dispenza is he's a physician that turned into teaching people on how to heal the body. And a lot of what he teaches on how to heal the body, he's healed people with himself and other people with like severe injuries on being present in the moment for your body, the things around you, and the people around you. And I think that you know, chasing chasing work and money, you need it to live, but the extra 50 horsepower is, we're not present.
Yeah.
We're not present for the already horsepower that we already have. We're not present for the house that we have. And it's just like, it's, you know, it's a magnet, or it's and I'm not going to say it's a movement or a people, because I think we individually, we're all responsible for saying, yes, I want to get a little bit more. You know what I mean? I want to get a little bit more. But we just get sucked into that extra 50 horsepower, and I believe that's what's taking us away from like real happiness, because we're never really here.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's certainly a distraction. It is certainly a distraction. I mean, we talked about, you know, how much is enough, right? Like the electrical, running water, dry, heating, temperature controlled. I mean, like, you could go spend like a week in the woods somewhere, and in Michigan, especially right now, and like tell me how grateful you are just for a warm bed. You know what I mean? Like tell me, and water, clean water, drinkable water. You know, I think that comes down to it. And I think presence is huge. I mean, obviously we each have our own very personal, you know, faith-based viewpoints on that. That's probably a different convo, different podcast maybe. But let's bring it where we kind of led where we were talking is 2008 is like was the Great Recession, Great Recession. And there's a lot of events that happened and led up to that. And so like now I'm seeing similar headlines of we're in a recession's coming, things are going to get ugly, and, you know, fear mongering. And listen, I'm not saying it can't get worse. I don't know. God knows. But like, I don't know what the future holds.
But you know what a question is? A question is, okay, so you talk about the 2008 recession. You're talking about inflation right now. Like we went to Qdoba last night, and what was our bill? Almost $50.
I didn't even look. I didn't like, and we got like, we didn't get that much. Yeah, just two of us. We got like a quesadilla, some chips. You got, it was like
guacamole. Okay, so everything is clearly more expensive. Yeah. So you talk about the inflation, you talk about the interest rates, you know, 2008 to now. But the question is, okay, everything is more expensive. Interest rates are higher, but do we have what we need?
Yeah.
Like that's the real question. Do we have what we really need? And how much of that inflation, like, because it is a luxury to have somebody make a meal for you.
Yeah.
It is a luxury to say, I'm going to take my family out, or I'm going to order in for my family.
100%.
You know, and it's nice. It's, you know, it's really nice to do that. But do we have what we need if we couldn't say, if we couldn't go out to eat last night?
Yeah.
Do we have what we need at home?
Yeah.
Do we have something to keep us going between here and our house? Like that. And that's, you know, that the rat race is chasing. I want to eat out more. I want to have more. I want to do more. You know,
like, can I touch? I have a hot take here, and I have a lot of hot takes, but I have a hot take. I have family with mental, you know, I don't want to say mental health issues, but they struggle with anxiety and depression. I believe anxiety is real, but people are throwing mental health around. You know, oh well, it's not worth the stress. It's not worth the stress of having to cook, or it's not worth the stress of, you know, they talk about like the mental health, these luxury. You're calling it a luxury, which I agree. Right, you're calling it a luxury.
It's a gift. It's a luxury.
It's a luxury. Like what you need, dude. You need clean water. You need food. You need shelter, and you need clothes. Like
that's it.
Like virtually anything else. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's luxury, right?
Yeah.
I had men argue with me a long time ago. They said sex was a human need, and I said, okay.
You disagree with that?
And their argument was, well, you need to reproduce. I said, sure, but if you have the mindset, and that's a huge tangent. So I want to stay on topic. I'm gonna
Okay.
come back to it. But like those are human needs, like requirements to live, right? You don't need, like, for you to keep living, you don't need to have sex. For you to keep living.
Okay.
Right? You're like, now we can talk about emotional needs, but those are not physical needs. No, so emotion. So the
I
point,
disagree,
the
but we'll
point,
talk about
yeah.
that later.
So the point being, right, and then we can get into the relational aspect of it, but the point being is that people they lack the mental strength, and this is where jiu-jitsu plays in. Like, you're like, oh, but now I gotta make stuff at home, and all just the stress of figuring it out, or the stress of work, like. To hear what people stress out about, saying a lot of times is laughable. You know, I was thinking of my boy Terwilliger last night. Like, we were doing a match, and I had him in high mount, and like high mount is effectively your arms are way up, the guy's on top of you, and there's like you're completely immobile. There's nothing you can do to get out of that. Virtually nothing.
Your neck
and I'm trying to work like a submission, and it's taking every ounce of physical and mental energy for him not to get a broken arm or choked unconscious. And then the bell went off. He's saved by the bell, and he's like, oh. Man, you know what I wasn't thinking about was the dog and the responsibilities I have at home right now. And like, that was it. Like, that's jiu-jitsu. And so everything else becomes like, it's perspective, right? When it's perspective of, if you funnel everything to it comes down to physical conflict. And if you feel comfortable in that physical conflict, then I'll work the extra hour to make the extra money. I'll learn a new skill.
Yeah.
I'll learn a new skill. Which, I mean, it's just, jiu-jitsu is so, people underestimate just how difficult it is.
I was talking to Sam yesterday, Sam Goddard, and he's one of our students and teammates. And he actually jumps in, he does a cold plunge like every...
That's tough.
Yeah, he does a cold plunge like at least a few days a week. You can see him on the internet. He has these healthy meals that he cooks. And I was talking to him about like jiu-jitsu, and I said, Sam, there's absolutely nothing about all of training Brazilian jiu-jitsu and martial arts, nothing that is easy. The training is hard. The preparation is hard. The getting your body ready for it is hard.
The recovery is hard.
The strategy is hard. The taking time away from something else is hard. Everything about it is hard. And if your job or hobby is like, dude, it's like, you can call borderline impossible, because it's not like, okay, you get here and you're good. It never stops. It never gets easier. It gets easier, but it gets harder. If that is your job and you're doing it every day, and that is part of your culture, and you have a whole part of who you are as a person doing this 2-3 times a week. Now you put yourself in 2008. Now you put yourself in today, where the inflation is high. You can't go eat, which is like, it's annoying to not be able to go eat if you don't have the money to. It's annoying to not be able to have the comfort in your own home. It doesn't even compare to the challenges of training jiu-jitsu, because on every other possible level, comfort, having control over the situation, it's all there in jiu-jitsu. It doesn't even compare.
Yeah, and I think too, Facebook user Cookie Monster says, when I do jiu-jitsu in the morning, like 6 a.m., I know it's my hardest part of my day is over. That's true. That's the realist, man. That's the realist. And if we're gonna be honest too, like let's just talk about the meals. To sum up the dining industry as we know it right now, is you're overpaying for low quality. The food is just garbage. Like, and 90%. In 90% of restaurants, the food's garbage. Like, you're either gonna like Taco Bell. I have a very, very deep, affectionate relationship with Taco Bell. I'm under no delusion that it's good for you, right? Like, I don't believe it's good for you. And so like you're paying for it. Now we're talking about like, what does it do to your body versus you go home, you cook some eggs, You get some fresh produce, right? Which is more expensive than it was, but it's cheaper than to buy, right? So you get some fresh produce, which and you make like a salad, like you make a salad, or you make a home cook. Like Amanda's food, dude. She her food is the bomb. I'm laughing because like the stuff she makes, it's routinely better than any $30 or $40 plate we eat when we go on date night.
Wow.
Routinely. Like she's the bomb cook.
She's a good person to have around.
She is a great person to have around. But I asked her to make me, I was running late for school. I had to get ready for here. I said, hey, can you make me my shake? Okay. And I put raw eggs in my shake. So she has to crack 6 eggs and then put them in like this little magic bullet. She didn't know that, dude, it was like an impossible task for her. She filled the thing pretty much all the way full of ice, put the eggs in, it was overflowing. She puts it just spewing, and I put the greens in there, just spewing. She's like, I'm never doing that again. So, and I'm like, that's what stumped you? Like you make like beef Wellington, like in no issue, but like making a shake. I was just laughing. And so you're overpaying. You're paying for convenience because you just don't want to get in the rhythm of whether it's meal prep or cooking, or in my case, learning a new skill. Like I'm admittedly, like if I didn't have a man and I had to make my own food, I'm eating omelets, probably quesadillas, and protein shakes. Like my ability to cook extensive meals and salads, right? Extensive meals is rather limited.
Yeah.
Right. But that being said, I also I'm not a real picky eater. Like I joke with you and Amanda. You guys take your meals really serious. Like every meal is like your last meal. Like we got to make this count. It's a big decision.
Yeah. To clarify, I hate to even say it here because we're talking about being present and not wanting too much, but a meal for me should be like going to an amusement park. There should be an experience.
Yeah.
Like you should feel good about it.
That's great. It's great, but I got stuff to do, too. So,
but that food that you're talking about, the last couple of days, like I've been eating out like at least, once a day, and my stomach's been bothering me. And so like, I'm starting to like when that happens, I say, okay, let me recalibrate.
Yeah.
Let me see what nutrients that I need to put inside my body to line my digestive tract. Like avocado is a good one. We had some avocado yesterday. Glutamine is another good one. That's good for the lining of your digestive tract. It's good for your immune system. And obviously,
a boatload of supplements. Yeah, those supplements you have, man, are good.
Yeah. So like, adding those is helping, is what I'm doing now to recalibrate. But getting caught up in that is it's not good for the body. Like just eating out in general, we all know it, but until it's like, okay, now, all these choices that you've made to eat out or, make these whatever fast food choices or restaurant food choices, they always will catch up to you.
I agree.
And we're trying to like chase that money so we can eat out more and have that freedom and luxury, but ultimately it is not good for us. And it's not about a health thing. It's again, the subject is the rat race.
Yeah. And the rat race. And I want to, cause like, I'm going to speak on behalf of the people. They're like, well, Professor, I don't eat out. I have the bare necessity. And listen, like guys, I'm going to call your bullshit right now. Like, and I'm trying to watch my life. Like if you showed me your bank account, I could show you where the holes in the game are, I'd show you where my own holes in my game are, but I know them, right?
I'd have to hide mine.
Yeah. I mean, we all get like, listen. I mean, let's be honest, right? Like anything you spend on outside of your shelter and your ability to make money and your food is a luxury. Like if we're gonna be honest with each other, right? That includes your Netflix, that includes, it all. So, but they're like, oh, I don't eat out. I don't do this. All right. Sometimes the first answer is cut the excessive luxuries, right? Yeah. The second answer is, make more, earn more money, because there was a time and a place when 40 grand. I mean, I remember having this conversation in high school. They're like 45, 50 grand. You are good.
Yep.
Like McDonald's managers almost making 40 grand a year now and struggling, rightfully so. I mean, like $20 an hour does not go where it used to. And we're not going to get into the inflation. There's not a situation like, I don't know. No one can make a proposal to me that can undo the inflation. We're too deep in the game. The dollar will never become more valuable. it will lose its value. It's just how much it will every single year. So if you're not increasing your earnings by 5 or 10% every year, you will lose. And then you're going to wake up in 5 years and be like, oh, why is I can't buy less, or I can't buy the same stuff now.
But I want to add to that, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that, about increasing earnings and making more money.
Hang on, I want to clarify. I didn't say, this doesn't mean go to somebody and ask for more money. It means make yourself more valuable to the market.
For sure.
Having a warm body doesn't mean shit. And if you think it does, they will replace you with a robot.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean anything, because that doesn't, just showing up and being there, they'll replace you, dude. They'll replace you with a robot. Finish it.
Yeah. So, and we've talked about that many times before, just on the subject of making more money.
Yeah.
It's not about doing more, it's working more. It comes down to one word, and it's so simple: adding more value. And again, getting back to my point is, it means being more present for who you're around and working more. And we talked about making 5% more or whatever. But that's also the opportunity to say, okay, yeah, everybody since the beginning of time wants to progress in their financial earnings, but
Sure.
This is a time when things are tough for a lot of people to go back and be present and say, what is really, really, really important?
Mm-hmm.
What is really, really important? How much money we spend on, St. Patrick's Day, Sweetest Day, Halloween, the Christmas gifts, all those, they're going to serve a purpose for the culture that we live in. But if you take all those, how much value through those days do you need to add to give to your family or your loved ones that's taken away from what we really need? And, I have those times and those days also that we spend time and money outside of what is necessary. But when, like you said, shit hits the fan,
mm-hmm.
and the inflation rates are high, and it's you're talking about it, and now kids are starting to feel it. I believe that this is the time we have to say, okay, let's learn some discipline to find out what we really need and what's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that starts with having some activities that teach you discipline and teach you what is really, really important.
Yeah.
And when you do something like jiu-jitsu and you train martial arts and you learn the art of physical discipline, mental discipline, strategizing, it makes it easier to go back to your own life and say, okay, I feel good. I feel strong. I feel confident. I believe in myself, but what do I really, really need? And that hopefully is going to, teach people to say, okay, let me back up a little bit. Maybe A, B, and C is not so necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two sides to this coin, right? There's what you're referring to as contentment. Contentment, which is it's about it's an honorable character, right?
And some people if we're talking about being ambitious, they'll turn it. And I have, and you have, they'll turn it and say, well, you settle too much too easy. And then it turns into laziness.
Okay. So let's define some terms, right? There's contentment and there's complacent.
Yeah.
Contentment is positive. Complacent is, in my opinion, a negative.
Yeah. Let me just add contentment. You can also, could you replace the word contentment with
gratitude?
Gratitude, thankfulness.
Yeah. I mean, it's a heavy influence of it.
Yeah.
Contentment, and then so contentment is I'm grateful for what we got.
Yeah.
Complacent is I've worked. I've reached the goal. I'm here. And imagine if that's just how we took the approach of business. Hey, we got to the number of members that we wanted. We got to the number of schools, number of hirings, whatever our goals are. We're there. We've arrived. Dog. The market will beat you to a pulp. Because that, unfortunately, it is a treadmill. Unfortunately, there is no standing still, right? There is. I mean, let's call it right. So it's kind of like a paradox a little bit. There is the point of gratitude and contentment, without a doubt. But then there's also the aspect of, okay, and the discipline and mental strength that comes from jiu-jitsu is, all right, times are really tough right now. And I get it. I get giddy with these things, like with recessions and depressions, because what is the easiest thing to do right now? Times are time. It's just whatever, in the real estate gig. It's just market's tough right now. No one's selling homes. How many hours a day are you cold calling people? How many conversations are you having? How many times are you asking for the sale? How much value are you providing in the market right now? Because if you're not providing and same with jiu-jitsu, right? Like, people don't have expendable income for jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is not, I quite literally sold my home before I quit jiu-jitsu and moved into a smaller home. Like it's your mindset of it. If you just view it as, I want my kid to get some, I've looked a parent dead in the eyes. Like, we were at the trunk or treat, and I was salty, right, over that event, because we spent thousands to put on this free event to people, fun event on our dime, like literally, and it was all on our dime. And they come in and they're like, and they were throwing a hissy fit. And I'm like, and I almost had to get removed from the bill. I'm like,
because they're lacking that
they're,
one
they're,
word.
they're throwing,
Yeah.
they're like throwing a hissy fit over free. I'm like, ma'am, you didn't pay anything to be here. And quite frankly, if you keep it up, you're going to be asked to leave, like a free event. And then another lady came in and she was like, oh, hey, how much are classes? I was like, yeah, they start at like, I was like, they're going to be, she was like, is it like $100 a month? I laughed at her. I was like, no. She's like, it's more than $100 a month per kid. I said, ma'am, when I started in 2009, we trained in the closet of Oakwood Gym. The closet of, it was smaller than this room that we're in.
Yeah.
The closet of Oakwood Gym.
Yeah.
And it was $100 a month. And that was if you use like a debit, like paid cash or debit card. Like, and our prices have they gone up since we opened? Dude, I don't think they've gone up at like,
not much.
Yeah, negligible, right? Since we opened. And so that's now what are you doing to provide value to the market and whatever your niche is? I'm looking at Alan does insurance. We obviously do jiu-jitsu. If you do the fitness gig, if you're doing real estate, if you're doing medical, right? If you're doing medical, if you are in construction, if you are in yoga, whatever it is, like, you need to go and provide as much value to the market as you can. You say, well, I only want to provide value if I'm getting paid for it. That right there is selfish.
Yeah.
That you will fail. If you're only going to put in effort, if you get output, that's an employee's mindset. That is not a business owner. That's not someone who's like looking to actually going back to that impact. You're not looking to make an impact. You're looking to make $1. And if you're looking to make $1, it's not going to go well for you. If you're looking to make an impact, I promise you the dollars will come. Like, so they may come in a few years when we bounce back from however we bounce back from this.
Yeah.
So it's just that's a mindset. But there is a dichotomy to it. I don't want to negate because you and I have been in business. We've been in business together. Is it 6 years now?
Yep.
6. So we've done a lot of hard, long days together, and there is like that. It's kind of actually annoying having a partner, because it's one thing to like if you're gonna cool it and like let off the brakes or let off the gas, and then you see your partner doing something, and it's not like it's not like we're trying to outwork each other. It's just kind of our personality. So like, let's say you go and you just take a weekend with the fam, and then I'll like text you up like, hey, I'm working on this or whatever. Like, it's like I kind of stole your joy from whatever you're having with the fam, because you're like, oh, he's outworking me now. Or if I'm out hunting and you're like, hey, I'm working on the sales or whatever here, I'm like, well, I'm in a tree, dude. Like, I can't do it. Like, so it's like this annoying kind of, but that's iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think there's a balance to it.
Part of just getting back to what you were saying is like, whether you're independently, you're self-employed, you work for yourself, you work for somebody. Like I've always said, it is like the best leader on a team or in a company is the best follower, and to follow the mission. And the mission, again, it's very simple. Like you've heard it from both of us many times. Add more value to the place that you're at.
Yeah.
And this whole thing again started like, I think that we need to add value to the people in our immediate circle, because like our immediate friends, our immediate family, who we're seeing more often. And I think that is going to give us a little bit more gratitude and appreciation, and probably a reminder that you're when push comes to shove, I believe so many of us are already accomplishing what we really want. And that you can. Now I'm taking away from some of the people who probably don't have a house to sleep in. They probably eat at shelters. They don't know where the next meal is from, or maybe
I have questions.
Seniors in nursing homes, but I think that most of us are already accomplishing. You already have what you want, and it's just a matter of taking a close look at it and seeing what do we really value, and it's not the extra 50 horsepower, because at the end of the day, that's not going to help you or your family or your friends, who ultimately are what really matter.
I think that perspective is huge. I obviously believe that jiu-jitsu, I mean, we've got, everything we have going on. Just a lot of stressors, a lot of stressors. Like if one of them would send someone to a psychologist, I gotta see one of them. So, and we've got 7 or 8.
There's probably tons of movies, but have you ever seen a movie where somebody is going through I don't know, they're going through a jungle or something, and they're fighting off this guy and that guy, and they're fighting off animals, and they're still in the jungle, but they get through that phase, and there's still danger out there, but they get through they're safe. They don't have a lion or a tiger or a bear trying to kill them at that moment. And really, that's what jiu-jitsu is like. You get out of a very extreme mental, physical, and social lesson every single day. And when you walk out, those challenges are still going to be there socially.
They're dulled.
Yeah, physically, they're dulled. It's not nearly as bad. So, I think, I think I speak for myself, probably you too, is that jiu-jitsu is helping us during this recession, during the increase to continue on, because it's not as bad. It's not as bad after jiu-jitsu.
Here's what I want to put. One, that we'll make a reel out of it and talk about. If we talk about the recession, I want to tell you guys this right now. If you want to be a top performer, it's never been easier, because the far majority of people aren't trying. They're throwing in the towel. It's a recession. They're letting off the brakes. This is the separation season. So if you want to set yourself apart, then it's a planting season. I will say this: it's a planting season. You're not going to reap a huge amount of harvest. Your likelihood, especially if you're just starting, you're not going to reap a huge amount of harvest in the next year or two. But in year 3 or 4, all of those seeds you planted, all of those conversations you had, all of those calls you made, all of the people you talked to, all of the people you helped, like those seeds that you plant will yield fruit down the road if you put in the work. And I believe we'll come out of this one way or the other. Okay. And case in point, I mean, the fact that we're even talking we're down because, stuff costs more and we still have the money to buy it. Right. It's incredible when you think about it on a world scale, the things that we're complaining about. Honestly, think about it on a world scale. Think about New Delhi. Think about where they go, parts of Asia. Guy, you want to talk about Gaza, South America, what on a world scale? People want to be. They want to be in America on a world scale. They want to have what we have. Yeah. They want to do what we do. They want the freedoms that we have. We got problems. We do for sure. Right. But
there's been stories of people who have been multimillionaires that have lost a lot of money, millions of dollars, in the stock market, and they've killed themselves. There's been local entrepreneurs. You can Google this over the last 20, 30 years, where business went bad, they killed themselves, but they still had some money in the bank, probably more than you and I did. Yeah, and more than you. So it's relative, and it's what your interpretation is of what you have and how much you value what you do have, and and not valuing what you want more than what you already have. And I think if we start to focus more on what we have and valuing what we have, then we're not going to feel like we're missing as much.
Yeah.
And what matters most importantly, is not, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. What matters first is not how your wife or your son or your spouse or anybody looks at you. What matters is how you look at yourself.
Mhm.
And can you look at yourself in the eye, and can you gut check yourself and say, yes, I am doing what I'm supposed to do? And I believe very, very firmly that there's a little voice inside of our stomach that will always guide you to what you need to be doing. And it never turns off. You call it your conscience, call it whatever you want, but that voice never goes away. And if you listen to that voice and you're honest with that voice, I don't think you'll ever, I think you'll be okay. I don't want to say you won't go hungry, because there's, like you said, there's people all over the world that are hungry right now and that are begging for the scraps that you and I have, begging. But I think if you listen to that voice, then you're going to be okay, especially in this country. And we're just so freaking lucky to have, to be here and have the opportunity that so many other people don't have.